Hello everyone and welcome to another horrific review. Today we are discussing Frankenstein, directed by Guillermo del Toro. A brilliant but egotistical scientist brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation. Well, hello everyone, we're back again for another review, and I finally got around to seeing this one. I wasn't too sure if I was looking forward to it or not. I think because it's being aired on Netflix made me a bit dubious. You know how those things turn out. However, Guillermo del Toro, he's a consistent director. He has a particular style and for the most part enjoy his movies. This pretty much goes along the same vein. I think I need to go back to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and reread it. It's been absolute years. I can get like most of us, we know the main story. We know what it's about. We know the part, like this features the ship again, where, we discover Frankenstein at the end of his hunt and how the story goes about. But like I said, I think I need to go back to the book. It's one of those things that we've had that many adaptations of this story out there that it's almost overwritten what was originally told. So just for that respect, I can't really say how close it is at this point to the material or not. I'm babbling here, just trying to make sense of it. It's an enjoyable story. Pretty much standard, what Del Toro comes up with. He has this style where he basically tries to tell a fairy tale with a horror bent to it, and this is pretty much it. 2.5 hours long. Don't think it needed to be that long, to be honest. Could have cut down a few bits, but at the same time, though, I wasn't struggling through this. I was able to go through it. Is it one I'm going to stick on lots and lots of times? No. It's one of them that maybe now and again you might watch it, but I think for the most part it's a one and done sort of popcorn flick, which is fair enough. It looks nice. Where he's used the costumes and the sets and the practical effects, looks really good. The parts where he uses CGI though, sticks out like a sore thumb, especially with the animals. Like there's a lot of CGI animals in this, and this is where I'm coming with the fairy tale sort of angle. It's almost like he's trying to tell a fairy tale, almost like Snow White or something, and it gets a wee bit twisted. With a good setting up, we meet the Frankenstein family as a whole. Leopold Frankenstein, Victor's father, William Frankenstein, his younger brother. We sort of get the idea of not being a happy family, not much love. William, for some reason, manages to get the love from his father that Victor could not. But I don't know, death, grief, funny things, affect people in different ways. And Victor was closer to his mother before she passed. That was obvious. So families are complicated, I suppose. And then also, if you're aristocratic families and got all your duty and stuff as well, I can kind of see where it's come from. But it's the death of his mother that basically makes Victor become obsessed with the idea of life and death and cheating death. That's what we get from it. It adds to the atmosphere, but there's a lot of it sort of padded out. As I said, they could do with some serious refinement and a cohesive story. We have Victor going to medical college, and then we have him basically being the upstart, the parts of the story that we all know and sort of understand from the tale. He was higher intellectual capacity but no empathy, borderline psychopathic, obsessed, and just a shock to his peers, and the idea of reanimating the dead, considering the fact that this time as well religion and science were sort of tied in together and they were still finding their way. The church was in charge of stuff and reason can only go so far, so there's that sort of battle and discussion happening at the time, which makes this story relevant. We meet a character called Horlander, played by Christopher Waltz, and pretty much a standard Christopher Waltz adaptation. He tends to be stuck in a certain way. He's only got one character to play, and he does this with Horlander as well. It's hard to suspend disbelief. Not that I didn't enjoy his performance, but there's parts of this where it sort of verges on comedy, and you're like, where are you going? And then it manages to rein itself back. So this is a thing I just found watching it, was we didn't know when you were meant to take it serious, and then put this sort of strange comedic undertone throughout it, and it's not moments of levity, it's almost derailing the story, and you just think to yourself, what was the thinking here? But Harlander basically is Victor's benefactor. He sees his work and he wants to basically fund him. Now, this is where I have to go back to the book and read it again. Was it an industrial complex, where servants are involved in gathering bodies from was it the Prussian War? I need to look that up as well before I know what war was taking place. But he's very open about what he's doing. They take over a water tower, and basically his work isn't secret. where I always thought the original Frankenstein story that because he was shunned by the medical community, he performed his tasks in the dark, you know, as in use body snatchers and harvest corpse where he couldn't eat that all behind the scenes. This has kind of changed that up a bit, so yeah, it makes me wonder what the point of the story was or what the idea was. Having like a rich benefactor just made everything possible. One good scene in this, however, we get to see the Evelyn tables. They're currently in the British Museum, I think. I might have to take a wee jaunt down there at some point and see them. They are basically, if you're not aware, is the first idea of anatomy, you know, using full cadavers, you know, shaving away the skin and, you know, bone structure, nervous system, blood vessels, you know, that's what it's on these tables. But the twist in this story is that instead of being 4, there's 5. And the 5th one is the lymphatic system. And that's the secret to harnessing the charge, basically, to bring the monster to life. So it was an interesting wee twist. I'm not too sure how rooted in history that is, but I'll go for this. One character I can't get with at all is the character of Elizabeth. What we have here is a plot device, not a character. She's there to be basically a random fancy for Victor, you know, a brief obsession. Doesn't go anywhere. She sparks an emotional response in the monster. Doesn't go anywhere. She gets killed during a scuffle when the monster decides to come back and find Victor. Doesn't really serve any purpose. Like I said, I just don't get what her character was there for, apart from just being a convenience to bounce everyone else to bounce off so the plot can happen. The story's told in 2 parts. So we have Victor's story telling how it went, and then we have the monster telling the story, because this all happens on the ship. So we've got the prelude, you know, ship's there, monster attacks them, and this is how the story sort of comes across. I think the length of time they spend on both sides of the story, like it could almost be 2 different movies, but they've obviously combined it in one. Maybe that's what explains the runtime. But there are 2 stories planned, one coming purely from the monster's perspective and the other from the doctor's. I don't know. It was alright. It was interesting a bit with like the monster, but a bit contrived. We kind of seen all this. He happens to hide and meet a family, and you know, finds friendship, and then that friendship gets tragically destroyed, and he's seen as the monster. Blah blah blah. You know, what the real story here is obviously the relationship between creator and the created, and the sort of anger and frustration and the narcissism of Victor Frankenstein, and then just the not understanding of his creature. We see like real and not necessary cruelty from Victor at the beginning, like when he's beating him and all because he could only string one word. Like, what was he expecting? Something's basically created out of thin air and jumbled massive brain, and he goes immediately to like chain it in the basement or a bottomless tower thing. No comfort whatsoever, yet he knows it can feel and have sensations. Yeah, it's a wee bit telegraphed, to be honest, just cruelty for cruelty's sake. I was thinking at this point we could have a bit more nuanced story between the two, but at the start it just doesn't really go anywhere. It's almost going paint by numbers, I feel. But it comes to this conclusion, and we have this sort of understanding pass between them. There's like forgiveness and like a moving forward, and then they freeze the ship. Ship goes back, obviously, with the body of Frankenstein, and the monster carries on. Neither alive nor dead, you know, can't die. It doesn't matter what's done, you know, he's busy reanimated. It's almost like a revenant. But yeah, it's an enjoyable story. It might sound like I'm panning on it a bit, but I think with the runtime, I think that's a bit that's really getting me. The 2.5 hour runtime, there's not that much of an in-depth story. It's more visuals, and it goes in this strange fairy tale sort of direction, which I know Del Toro does a lot, but it almost goes into like Disney princess fairy tale for a bit, and then goes back to the horror bits when it's needed. Don't regret watching it. It was what it was. I don't think I was expecting much. I wasn't disappointed. Wasn't overly excited either. Didn't finish this going, wow, that was the best thing ever. Oh, that's changed my life. Or hit me in an emotional core, because it doesn't have it, if that makes sense. And there's a good cast of actors here, but I just feel like they're going through the motions at this point, and I wasn't really getting any intensity of the scene. This is more a visual spectacle, I think. So if you want shiny lights and stuff, that's definitely, you know what I mean, that's what it is. It's that sort of thing. But if you want any sort of real characterization or emotional scenes or in-depth into the mind of Victor Frankenstein, you're not going to get it. Or the monster even, you know, it's not there. But there you go. That is that. Let me know what you think. Until next time, keep up to date with the channel, do the technical things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.